I went to private Catholic schools for my entire educational career prior to going to Transylvania University for college. I was excited to go to one of the best colleges in the state after getting an already expensive and very academically challenging education. I was worried about the transition into college where I had imagined intellectual young adults from all over the world would be studying beside me, and I was scared I wouldn't be able to keep up. My high school academic counselors assured me that the work I've put in, getting honor roll every year, standing in leadership positions in multiple school organizations, and attending one of the best high schools in the state, would make my success in college inevitable. Once I actually got to college, I realized I could keep up just fine if I put in a lot of work. I also noticed that my peers had come to this realization also. I've heard my friends talk and jest about how they've goofed off all throughout high school and how they came so close to failing out many times. I've heard about students who have skipped class almost every day or got suspended, yet here they are sitting beside me in my hardest classes. I can't help but feel cheated. Not that they didn't deserve to be here, that wasn't the case at all. The internal struggle I dealt with when I hear the stories about their easy senior year is that I almost feel like the years of straight A's and thousands of dollars spent on primary education was pointless. Though my classmates and I started in different places, we've ended up in the same college taking the same classes, raising the question, are private schools worth it? The time, the money, the effort? Maybe there's no single reason that makes one type of education better than another. So what are the circumstances that make an education of any sort superior? James S. Coleman and Thomas Hoffner, authors of Public and Private High Schools, The Impact of Communities, argue that student success is based primarily on community involvement. This idea stretches all the way from dedicated teachers to parent involvement in schools. A school with higher parent involvement has statistically much better end results than schools without. Quote, parents are more involved in Catholic high schools than in public high schools. 17% more parents of Catholic high school students attended a parent-teacher conference, and 19% more parents did volunteer work for their school than public school parents did. 53% of public high school principals said that parents lacked interest in students' progress, compared to only 7% of Catholic high schools principals. Parent and teacher involvement has much more to do with student success than one could even imagine.
The teachers, I wouldn't say I was friends with some of my teachers, but I probably, yeah. And the teachers they could take more of an interest in you without feeling the pressure to just sort of churn out, make you produce A's and good grades.
At my second high school, I definitely received a lot more attention from teachers. I was friends with all my teachers, and I still keep up very personal relationships with my teachers that I had from that high school. They really wanted to see me succeed.
With parents and teachers more involved in student success, it pushes them to do better, leading to private schools having a perfect attendance rate of 49%, while public schools only have 34%. Along with this claim, Coleman and Hoffer believe that another way Catholic and private schools have been able to succeed for so long is that they have been able to withstand the changing of curriculum set by government officials, being able to create their own curriculums. Private school teachers being able to create their own lessons plans more flexibly than public school teachers allows them to be more involved in their students' learning. However, even with better teacher and parent involvement, are private schools really worth the extra time, money, and effort? In an article from The Atlantic entitled, Are Private Schools Worth It?, Julia Ryan explains research done to find out why parents chose to put their children in private schools when there is a free option that in many states overperforms the expensive choice. Ryan came to the conclusion that parents choose private schools for a variety of reasons, mainly safety, convenience, reputation, but more so than anything else, religion. This along with parents believing that their children will have a better peer group in private schools.
Well, for one, the private school is obviously a large investment, especially for a young child, where the public schools in my area are typically pretty good. Yeah, and I think ideologically they just don't support the idea of a private school.
My parents chose to put me in a private school because they believed that the structure would be better and I'd be well prepared for college.
I think my parents decided to put me in public school because they couldn't afford private school.
No matter if a person went to private or public schools, the end result and question is still the same. Do they believe themselves to be well educated?
I really hope so. I guess being well educated means being responsible and engaging with the world around you in a way that allows you to better it, or I guess like be, in my case, be aware of my own privilege, because obviously I did go to an expensive Catholic girls'
I
school.
feel like that sounds very, not like pretentious, but like pompous to say like, oh, I'm very well educated. But yeah, I would say that I received a good education. I feel like of course there are children who probably go to private schools that receive college level educations or better. But I feel like I still received a pretty good education based on where I went, so.
I think I'm well educated relative to the average kid my age. That means that I'm gonna have a leg up in the future, and I'm gonna have a better chance at truly doing what I love.
I believe myself to be well educated, especially because my high school was raised on certain values and they believed on educating the whole person. So like the mind, heart, soul, faith, all that stuff.
Well, I guess I'm well educated in that in my schooling I've done well enough, but I think in terms of real world practical experience, I'm not educated.
In What Does It Mean to Be Well Educated by Alfie Kohn, he explains his personal confusions about the question, such as what does a person need to remember from school to make them well educated? Or is it more related to social learning? The main question of his essay is how do we know if education was successful? Authors such as Joel Spring believe that there is more to the goals of schooling than just academic success. Spring explains in his works, The History and Goals of Public Schooling, that there are three main goals to public schools: political, social, and economic. Public schools follow these goals deeper due to uniform curriculum available to teachers. Spring believes the school is meant to have children grow in patriotism while swaying their beliefs to the same as the values held by the school. Also, to allow them to socialize with their own age group. And lastly, to keep the economy stocked with incoming young people to work.
Don't think it was as much economic. Well, it was economic in the sense that, in high school at least, they wanted us to kind of overcome like gender politics and rise in the workforce, like whatever we chose to do, our path in life. But there wasn't a lot of like unindividualized, like it wasn't we're just cranking you out and you need to go into like the machine of society and make as much money as you can. So I feel like the other two were stronger.
But how do Spring's goals relate to the meaning of being well educated? Are his goals more important than the unnecessary required upper level algebra Kohn speaks about? Most of us can't recall many of the facts they made us memorize day after day, but we remember the important stuff. So who's to say what well educated really means? Kohn mentions his notions that maybe no one is ever well educated. What if being well educated relates only to the quest to find more knowledge? Another point of importance I was introduced to after going to college was a much more diverse student body. My grade school and middle school only had 2 African American students who were brothers. My high school was not much different. This offered me very few windows into other cultures while also providing no mirrors to the few African American students. On the Importance of Windows for Students and Teachers by Gregory Mitchie, he explains the concept of windows and mirrors and the curriculum being so important for the growth of students. Quote, schools should be spaces where kids explore the unfamiliar, but also see their own lived experiences validated and valued. Children being able to see themselves in the curriculum is very important to them, feeling a sense of understanding of themselves and knowledge of other people.
My first high school that I went to, there's a big disparity within my hometown of ethnicity rates at the different schools. The inner city school, there's a 40% population of POC people there, which is like people of color. And then the other high school that I went to that was also in the same area, it's more out in the country, and there's only a 2% ethnicity rate at that school. So it's a big deficit difference, yeah. And so I feel like the first school that I went to, that was like a lot more white people, a lot more like the socioeconomic status there was like very different. My second school though, we were very proud of who we are. We were proud of the fact that we were a community. We were proud of the fact that we were accepting of people from all walks of life, because I don't know, this is America, it's a mixing pot. You're supposed to, you know, interact with people from all walks of life. It's more of a community. And I feel like I definitely appreciated the values of that school a lot more.
Other than exposure to a more diverse learning setting, there are many differences between public and private schools. In Private School versus Public School, Facts, Beliefs, and Statistics by Hudson Lindenberger, facts are laid out in a comprehensive way that allows the reader to learn the pros and cons of the different types of schooling. This article looks at the main factors in choosing your child's school, this being things like cost, teachers, class size, and test scores. Either type of school doing better in each category. Public schools have more experienced teachers and a more diverse student body, while private schools have smaller classes and have better test scores.
No, I feel like I would have been miserable in private school. My mom did actually try to enroll me in private school around middle school, and I did like a trial, a couple of classes, and it was awful. I hated it. None of the kids were very socially aware or socially like interactive, and they only really socialized with each other. I felt very excluded being like new to the group, and my family didn't have a ton of money that would have been spending like a lot of their income to send me to that private school.
I feel like I would not be as confident in classroom situations and be able to speak my mind and voice my opinion.
I think I would have received a better education, but I think that it would have given me a very kind of closed off mindset, and it's not something really that I wish I would have had.
No, I almost went to Manual, which is a public school in Louisville, but I didn't want to go there because I wanted to have the experience of a smaller, tighter knit school, but we still like went out into the community, and you know, we did service, and we did like social engagement stuff, and it was still like a varied education, but we just had to wear uniforms.
Who's to say which type of schooling is better? No one will ever be able to experience them both fully. Whether you went to private school or public school for pre-college education, the only thing that really matters is a person's individual motivation to continue their schooling and become a true lifelong learner.